Two of the most popular foods in the world, sushi and pizza. Can they become one? I don't know. Let's find out. Sushi pizza. Well, sushi and pizza, two things that I'm very passionate about. In my opinion, I feel like there's a lot of people out there trying to combine the two, and I feel like the closest person to nail it, in my personal opinion, is Iron Chef Morimoto with his tuna pizza. Now, if you want to look and see what it looks like, you can Google it. I've been diving deep into pizza, but I've never lost my roots as a sushi chef. I took Chef Morimoto's idea, but I made it into more of a true sense of pizza with an essence of sushi on it. Enough talking. I'm gonna show you how to make Chef Tuan's version of a sushi pizza. You're gonna love this. Welcome to the channel, and as usual, all the ingredients will be linked in the description box down below. We're gonna start by making a Poolish, which is a pre-ferment, much like a sourdough, but without the weeks of waiting. I'm going to give you a fair warning. This pizza dough takes at least 36 hours to make, which is mostly waiting time. Now, once you've combined water, flour, and a little bit of yeast, stir it up and let it sit for 12 hours. Now add the rest of the water. I like to whisk it all up to break it all up. We're gonna add this to our stand mixer bowl. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil, a little bit more yeast, and we're going to add the rest of our flour. Now here's a pro tip that you might not want to hear, but if you're gonna make homemade pizza, invest in the time to make a delicious dough. Because if you don't, it doesn't matter what you put on top, your pizza is gonna be mediocre. Now you wanna let your mixer run on speed 3 until you get a rather smooth dough. All I'm doing here is I'm gonna shape it, then I'm going to weigh the total amount of dough, and I'm gonna divide it into 3, which will give us approximately 211 gram dough balls. With this sushi pizza, I'm looking to make about a 10-inch pizza. Now, if you want more pizza tips and tricks, I have other pizza videos on my channel that you should definitely check out. Once your dough balls are all scaled and shaped, we're gonna put them into a container and into the fridge for 24 hours. Now, 24 hours later, and an hour before you cook your pizza, take your dough out to let it rest at room temperature. I'm just cutting up some cherry tomatoes. Make sure you get some colorful ones because we want our pizza to look beautiful. Now, thinly slice some red onion. This is gonna add some crunch to the pizza. Now for some heat, I strongly suggest you use some serranos, not jalapeños, but serranos. And you wanna cut them about this thick. That way the bite will be a little tame. And next we're gonna start working on our anchovy mayonnaise. I ended up using about 5 anchovy fillets and a little bit of that oil to about a half a cup of mayonnaise and a little splash of yuzu. If you don't have yuzu, use lime juice. Let this run until everything is combined. Don't be afraid to scrape down the sides of the bowl. And that's it for the anchovy mayo. I do have a pizza steel in the oven that has been preheating at 550 degrees. Now it's time to take out our dough balls, which have risen beautifully. And now it's time to shape our pizza. My flour bath that I like to use is equal parts bread flour and semolina. Make sure your dough ball is completely coated in flour to prevent stickage to the peel. So far, so good. Lightly dust your peel and then we will stretch out our pizza dough. I'm looking for around a 10-inch pizza with a nice crust on it. Some people like to do the slap and fold. Some people like to toss it up in the air. Do whatever works for you. I just like to hand stretch like so. That way I don't have flour flying all over my kitchen. Now here is a trick. We're gonna be baking our pizza dough without anything on it except for some dashi. Now if you don't have dashi, you can just use water, but brush everywhere except for the crust. What we're looking to do is prevent the entire dough to puff up like a beach ball. You may have seen some pizzaiolos use ice cubes. Well, to me, ice cubes, you can't control how much water goes onto it. I've seen some videos where after the pizza dough is done, there's still a pool of water in the dough, or there are still ice cubes remaining. By doing it this way, you eliminate all those things. Now it's time to launch our pizza into a 550 degree oven. The stone temperature is around 500 degrees. I'm gonna let this sit for a minute before I turn it on broil. Now once you turn it on broil, it should take about 4 to 5 minutes. And as you can see here, there's no more water on the pizza dough. Now we need to put this onto a cooling rack because we want the dough to cool down and not steam itself and get soggy before we start putting on the toppings. This next step, you can either work on the cooling rack, or what I like to do is put a pizza screen on top of a pizza tray. That way it still won't steam itself on the bottom, stays nice and crispy. We're gonna add a little bit of olive oil and brush it all over just to spread out the flavor, spread the love. Next step, I have some of our anchovy mayo. I'm gonna put it all over the pizza, just like a sauce. Now you're gonna take some beautifully sourced tuna. I got this from a local vendor, some big eye tuna, and I'm gonna cover the entire pizza. Now the dough itself has cooled down to about room temperature, about the same temperature as sushi rice would be when making nigiri. Now if you made a bigger pizza, you would need a lot more tuna to cover the whole thing. Now it is very important that you do let your pizza crust cool down a little bit before you add any of the toppings. Now if this was straight out of the oven, it was hot, and you put the mayo on there, it would just start running all over the place and warming up the tuna too much. Next, I have some nikiri soy sauce, which is a special soy sauce made that you usually see sushi chefs brush on top of your nigiri when you're sitting at the sushi bar. I already had that on hand, so I will just put the recipe down in the description box below. If you don't want to make this, you can also use eel sauce if you want to, but it's going to add a little bit of sweetness. Now let's garnish our pizza with our tomatoes. Make sure that you spread the variety of colors all over so it makes a really colorful looking pizza. Next goes our red onions and then our serrano peppers. And if you have access to micro cilantro, this would be a great place to use it. If not, just pick the small leaves of the cilantro, avoid the stems. And then for some further greenery, I'm gonna add some chopped chives. A little bit more of the anchovy mayo just dotted all over the pizza is not gonna hurt you. It's gonna make every single bite a lot more interesting. I'm gonna give this sushi pizza another little drizzle of the nikiri shoyu, just for good measure. And now I have some seaweed sea salt from Japan. If you don't have it, use Maldon. Cut the pizza into quarters and put it onto a serving plate, and it is done. Look at how beautiful this is. Give it another drizzle of olive oil, and voila, our sushi pizza. This thing looks incredible. I can't wait to dig in. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Look at that. You have an actual pizza crust made and then dressed with fresh big eye tuna that I got from my friends over at Blue Runner Seafood Truck here in Miami. No, they're not sponsoring this video. They're just a small local business that I absolutely love, and I just want to give them a shout out. So if you're in the Miami area and you want some pristine seafood, go check out Blue Runner Seafood Truck. They have 2 locations now. I'll link the website down below. Without further ado, let's try this thing. Oh yeah, man. Oh man, that is amazing. No flop. I would order this every day. I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that this is the first of its kind, like an actual pizza crust, not, you know, sushi rolls made to look like pizza, or, you know, this on a pita bread or a tostada or whatever, but an actual pizza dough. Amazing. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Give this recipe a try, and like I said, if you're in the Miami-Dade area, go visit Blue Runner Seafood. Say hello to those guys. Tell them Chef Twan sent you. I don't know if it's gonna get you anything, but but just support local business. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Get off your butts, and as always, peace.